up? Today's video is actually a requested video from Instagram, and it was by Cindria Martins, and she was just curious about my photography tips and how to take Instagram photos. And she asked how to be okay with being on the camera, how to take good pictures, and what are your best tips for taking photos in your area, and all of that good stuff. So I thought I would put together a video of my top 5 tips for taking photos. So hopefully you guys find this useful. So let's get into it. So tip number 1 is my most important tip, and that is to make sure you have good lighting. And I'm sure you've heard this before, but it's because it is so important. Lighting is everything, and you might think that like a sunny day would be the perfect time to go out and take photos, but it's actually one of the worst times because it can cast awkward shadows and you're all squinty-eyed and nothing ever turns out how you're expecting it to turn out. So on a sunny day, it's best to find a shadier spot that you can go take photos, or just wait until dusk kind of thing. And also avoid taking photos when it's too dark outside, because then your photos will just come out grainy and that never looks good either. My personal favorite days to take photos are when it's overcast out. That is like the best lighting ever. So I always get really excited when it's overcast. I know, I'm crazy. And if you're gonna take photos or videos inside, then I would suggest posting up by a window if you don't have professional lights. Natural light is the best way you can go, because if you're using just your regular lights in your house, sometimes your photos will turn out with that yellowy tint to them, and nobody likes that. So tip number 2 would be to get to know your good angles and what works for you in photos. And this is something that doesn't really happen overnight, but the more you practice, the more you figure out how you personally like yourself in photos, and then those will be your go-to poses. For me personally, I have bigger hips. So I have a couple tricks that I do to make them look smaller in photos. So what I do is I'll pop my hips backwards and then lean forwards a little bit. That way they do come across smaller in the photos. If you were to stand with your hips pushed forward a little bit, they're going to appear a lot larger on camera. Another thing that I like to do is do a wider stance. I find if my legs are close together, it really accentuates my hips, where if I'm doing a wider stance, it's harder to notice. So that's something I find that works for me personally. I know another trick is for if you're shorter, you can always tilt your camera upwards a little bit. And if you take your photo from a lower angle, it'll make you look a lot taller. And if you tilt your camera the other way, it'll make you look shorter in photos. So just be aware of that. Whatever is closest to the camera always comes across as the biggest. So just know what works for you and practice with that. Another thing I know a lot of people like to do is stand on their tippy toes a little bit, and that can create length as well. So whenever I'm getting my photos taken, I like to have more than one photo taken so that I have a variety to choose from. So just whoever you're with, ask them to, just spam the camera button. That way you can go through afterwards and you're bound to find at least one good photo in there. And make sure that you're moving as well, because if you're just standing in that one position the whole time, then all your photos are gonna look the exact same. But if you're doing nice subtle movements or like flicking your hair a little bit, you'll get those natural, oh look at me, I'm caught off guard kind of photos. So try moving around, try different things, and then you'll eventually figure out what works for you. So tip number 3 would be to be aware of your surroundings. And this is something that is very important if you want to have a specific color theme with all of your photos. For me personally, I really like the bright and clean photos, so I'm not gonna go stand up in front of a brick wall because that just wouldn't match with my whole aesthetic. So that's something definitely to keep in mind. Everywhere I go, I always have my eyes peeled. I'm always on the lookout for new locations. I don't know if that's just my art background or what, but it's good to just be aware of your surroundings. Don't take a photo beside a garbage can or standing on dead grass, because that never turns out well either. Another tip for being aware of your surroundings is if you're wearing like all white, don't stand in front of a white wall to take a photo, because then you're just gonna blend in with the background. And it goes for if you're wearing all dark as well. Make sure you're not standing around dark things. So always be aware of what you're wearing and your surroundings, and try and get that nice contrast in your photos. So tip number 4 would be to try new things. Like Kyle and I absolutely love food. We love going out to eat. We love trying new restaurants and new cafes. So we do that often. and it also opens up good opportunity for new photos as well. So you really don't need fancy equipment when you're doing this. Like I would say 85% of my Instagram photos were just taken with my iPhone from wherever we are at the time. So really just explore your own city. I find a lot of people have like their blinders on when it comes to their own city, but you'd actually be surprised just how many like cool and unique spots there are when you just go out and explore it a little bit. So go for some walks, go for some hikes, you know, invite your friends out. So make it a point to even try something new just once a month, and it gives you an opportunity to get out with your friends, and also you might score some sweet pics while you're at it, so it's a win-win situation. And my last tip, tip number 5, is to just have fun with it. There was a hot minute where I was so obsessed with my Instagram, like every photo had to be perfectly aligned or I wouldn't even post it. And I was becoming so psycho about it. It was to the point where it wasn't even fun anymore, and I had to like take a step back and be like, whoa, like when did I become so crazy about a social app? So since then, I've been taking a couple breathers here and there. You know, I'm not as crazy about posting every single day like I used to be. If I miss a day, whatever, it's not the end of the world. I'd rather post pictures that I'm actually happy with, that I enjoy taking, and that I'm proud to share. And that's another thing, is don't get caught up on the likes. Don't post pictures just because you'll think they'll get a lot of likes. Post what makes you happy and what you're actually proud to post. That's really all that matters, and that is how you will keep your sanity at the end of the day. So those are my 5 tips for taking photos. Hopefully you guys found them useful, and I would love to hear if you guys have any tips for taking photos yourselves. As for being in front of the camera, like coming from me, I'm like the most awkward turtle in the entire universe. But the more you're in front of it, the more you get used to it, and just have some fun with it. Remember, you don't have to post anything you're not happy with. So just practice makes perfect with stuff like this. Yeah, otherwise I guess I'll see you guys next week in my next video. Bye!